Greetings! So you might be asking yourself, just who is this BlazeLeeDragon character anyway? Well, I'm glad you asked.
They care. They really care.
Well, since you asked, I'll go ahead and tell you. I'm just a random person. A noob, a beginner at League of Legends, who just so happens to like playing video games and happens to like to make videos here on YouTube. This, as you can tell, ooh, look, I can point in the right direction, is League of Legends Beginner's Guide, Part 2. That means the sequel to the original one. So what was the original one? Well, the original one was, quite frankly, awesomeness. Just pure awesomeness. So yeah, me and my little channel thing going online here, I had gotten this League of Legends Beginner's Guide video up, and thank you for your wonderful support. I'm up to 20,504 views, 236 thumb ups. Yes, keep those coming. As of the recording of this video, which is the sequel. And this video is going to tell you how you can become better at League of Legends. That's right, like me, you can suck less too, day by day, hour by hour, by following this easy-to-follow guide. So tell me, noob, how do I become better at League of Legends? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let's go into some of those details. To begin with, I say research your champion. Yes, as we've discussed in my previous videos, League of Legends is a team game. You can't be out for yourself, you have to be out there working with the rest of your team. Now, when you're going to do that, you need to know what you're doing. So, how do we go about doing that? Well, quite simply, we go to a couple of websites. To begin with, a couple of the websites that I personally like to go to. LOL Item Optimizer. What this does is it allows you to, first and foremost, you can go in here and click on a live game. So if you are in a game, and it will grab your summoner's name automatically, you confirm, it'll pop up your character that you're being, as well as the champions on the other team. Now, you don't just have to do it that way. You can actually go in here and manually select what you want to go through. So you search in the middle here for the champion you're looking for. Being a fan of Xin Zhao, as I am, I of course will look for him, left-click him, goes to the default role of jungle, because that is the most typical lane he is going to play in. Now, you can select this champion and choose, like let's say you want to play him in support, or bot, or mid. Wherever you want to put him, you can change based upon what you want to do. For example, myself, I like to play Xin Zhao in any lane but ADC. He's not the only champion I play, but I definitely like to play him, and it's kind of a surprise when people see him as a support or a mid laner. Good times there. So what you do is you pick the lane that they're in, unless it's picked it up real time. Then you can go through and again kind of type in the name of the people you're playing against. So whatever team comp they may or may not have. And let's see, let's get a jungler. Lee Sin. Okay, so let's say this is their team comp, and this is your character that you're playing as. You hit this lock-in button at the bottom. Before you do that, you slide this little bar down here. I usually leave this one alone, but you can choose if you want to be more defensive or more damaging, and it will actually calculate, use the math of what is the most effective build for your champion against that team comp. That does not mean this is 100% accurate. That does not mean this is going to work in every situation or scenario out there. However, I do find it pretty effective, and it does give you some pretty decent ideas. In this case, it's suggesting you start out with, these are your items that it includes that you build off of, the refillable potion, which is a favorite of mine, the boots of speed, and any of the jungle items to start out with. Now, it suggests that you build into the enchantment Bloodraiser, Bork, Death's Dance, Phantom Dancer, Spirit Visage, and the Bloodthirster. Now this is just one example, and after you've built that, if you are still playing and you are still going, you have this option for Ultimate Build, which then tells you, besides for your build order of 1 through 6, then you replace your Bloodraiser with Infinity Edge, and you replace your Death's Dance with Hydra. So that is just one website that you can go to that actually gives you some suggestions. Obviously, you want to learn the meta of the game. Now, what is meta? Great question there. Meta is not to be confused with metagaming. Meta stands for the most effective tactic available. So what does that mean? That means learning the game and knowing the most effective tactics to use to build your character and utilize them. So yeah, pay attention to the meta, and this means doing some research before you start playing. Now, the item optimizer is just one way to go about it. This, of course, is not the only website out there. It is constantly updated. I think it's a great tool, but you want to learn. You want to know why you're picking what you're picking. And, of course, it is going to change the build each time based upon the actual game. That is why I like this. Another website for you to check out is champion.gg, or as I like to call it, champion.goodgame. Haha. So, on champion.gg, it is going to allow you to search for individual champions. So again, I will pick Xin Zhao because he is one of my favorites. When you go there, it will show you the roles they are most likely to be played in and have been most effectively played in. It gives you statistics of all sorts. Wow, statistics. I say that so well. And you can go down here. It's going to show you the most frequent spells that they've used, what their win rate is, how many games this has been played out of. It's going to show you their most frequent core build, which is, again, very similar to what you were seeing with the calculator, but this is based upon the champion instead of the individual match. Most frequent start, again, with the win rate. Over here, the most frequent skill build order. This is fantastic when you are learning a new champion to kind of get an idea of how other people build the champion and what sort of order they put their skills in. Over here is your frequent masteries. So you have two of these again. The first one is the most frequent masteries. The next one is the highest win percentage masteries. So this kind of gives you an idea of where you want to build them. It also gives you runes as well. It shows you, again, different champions you can go against. This data is incredible. Now, don't let this overwhelm you. Again, you can use the item optimizer to start getting a feel for the game, but you can also use this website to kind of get an idea. Start with simple stuff. Look at what summoner spells they're using. Look at some of the build items to get a basic idea. Right now, and here's the thing, every time they do a new build in League of Legends, the meta changes. There are different abilities and skills and champions that they will nerf, which means to make them easier. Think about a nerf gun. It's a soft gun. So they try to bring it down and make it easier, so less damage, less effective, and that's usually if a champion is too powerful, they want to make them a little weaker so people will play different champions and they're not just dominating the game. Same thing, they'll take weaker champions and kind of pump them up and buff them a little bit so they are more effective. Looking at stuff like this is, again, going to be constantly updating. It's going to give you a great idea. And just to show you some of the other ones, so for example, we could grab like Morgana. And Morgana here, you'll see a support option and a mid option. So if you select that, it will change what's displayed here based upon the role you're going to play her in. And this is all of the champions out there, so you can look for pretty much anyone you want just to get an idea of how people would suggest playing them. Now, going on to the next website, and the last one that I would suggest, and there's great ones out there. These are by no means the only websites that are available. The reason I like these is they're dynamic and they're constantly changing. The next one is op.gg. op.gg allows you to look for a summoner, so you can look up to see how they're doing and search by summoner name. But, top left-hand corner, we have an option here called Champion Analytics. Now, the Champion Analytics up here is basically going to allow you to search for your champion, and very similar to the last one. Now, there's something different I like about this op.gg. And again, I'm going to look for Xin Zhao. Just like I said, he's just my favorite. So it's going to show you their role, which is what they typically are. You can also look for other champions. By the way, I'll head back for just a second. You can look at all champs, specifically top, jungle, mid, ADC, or support. So if there's a specific role you want to play, you can look for other champions that might play in these other roles. And some of them, as you'll see here, like Galio, top, support, or mid. So there's 3 different lanes that they're typically played in. Now, keep in mind, just because a champion is typically played in a lane does not mean you cannot play them in their lane. Just be aware that if you're using an unconventional champion in an unconventional lane, it might piss off your team. They might think you're trolling. Now, if you do it well, you practice, and you're not ranked, you might find something new that's kind of broken. People do it all the time. Now, going back to this Champion Analytics here, and going through and looking for one of the champions. Why is that not popping up? There we go. So I'm picking Xin Zhao once more. Now, this is going to give you a basic overview on your first page. It's going to show you all the different skills that he has, which is kind of cool. Shows you here, this is the skill build order. So they'll always focus battle cry over the 3 talent strike and then auspicious charge. And it shows you their summoner spells, it shows you how often they're picked, and how often the person wins when they pick that. Now, that's not necessarily in correlation. If you pick this, you're always going to win because everybody else does. That just means that a lot of people do pick this, and some of them so happen to win, but that's also based upon the player skill, what their elo is, the other people that they're playing with, how difficult the team is they're against. There's a lot of things that factor into this. Starting items, again, it's going to show you their typical start items. This is, again, for a jungler, so you're looking at, of course, your Hunter's Machete, which is part of the jungle item they build. This is their core build. Right now, the current meta for Xin Zhao is Bork. Bork is brutal on Xin Zhao right now due to the lifesteal and the speed of attack. Typically, Trinity Force is always a very, very good, solid thing, specifically for Xin Zhao. But a lot of these, you'll notice Bork is the second item. You'll also notice that LOL item optimizer did suggest this. Bork is one of the items to choose, as well as the Hunter's Machete, which builds up into Blood Razor. So just to keep in mind, again, these websites, if they're giving you similar information you're seeing across the board, give it a chance and try it out. Here's some boots. Keystones to use. That's, when you're building up into your mastery, it's that last one that comes down at the bottom. That's your keystone. So Fever of Battle, which is, of course, the FOB, which is what I prefer to use. It shows you some of the different mastery trees that they're using, and again, with those same statistics, and it shows you your rune sets. It gives you a lot of great data, and you can break it down further. You can go into individual items, and you can sort by each of these columns here. So, like, let's say you want to look at the best win rate items. Let's say you want to look at the top picks. It's going to show you how often they're picked and all this kind of stuff. It goes skills, runes, masteries, the whole 9 yards. There are a plethora of websites out there for you to research your champion. Now, you don't have to spend hours upon hours on these sites, but it is a very good idea to take a glance and get a basic idea so you're not just walking in blind. Just be aware of that. League of Legends is constantly changing and evolving all the time. It's meant to be fun. Don't let people chase you offline or tell you how to play your champion. Do some research. It's trial and error. If you're not in a ranked game, don't let those trolls get to you, You trash, man. You suck. How could you do that? What the fuck? I'm Thursday, huh? No, ignore that. It's have fun. Go out there, play your champion, learn the game. We all sucked at one point or another. I'm still a pretty horrible player. I'm still learning and evolving. It's just one of those games, and that's why it's been popular for so long, because they're staying constantly with all of these updates and improvements and new champions they come out with. So just play and have fun. Now let's talk about Smurfing! What is Smurfing? If you've not heard this term before, like meta, you may not have heard of it. Smurfing is when a really high-classed player, not necessarily good, but at least high level, they've been playing it for a while, they have some experience, sometimes they are really good, they'll create a brand new account and they'll play against people that are just starting out. So you might actually play people who are like all badass and powerful because they've been playing forever, so they know the meta. They know how team comp should work. They've done ranked games or competitions, whatever the case may be. And you have two types of Smurfs. You have the ones that are trolling just to mess with new players because they want to. Then you have the ones who are intentionally being an asshole, and they either could not hack it in their actual account, or they just got sick of playing it for a while and just felt like trashing some newbies. So they'll come down, and the ones that are really bad are the ones that just couldn't hack it. They're just horrible. So they think they know how to play. They make these Smurf accounts, and then they will trash talk you the whole time because they know so much more than you. And you are a noob, and how dare you make that mistake? You should not play this game. And they forgot the fact that at one point, they didn't know what they were doing either. So be aware of Smurfs. Don't Smurf. The only time I can think Smurfing might possibly be appropriate is if you have brand new people that are starting out, so you want to play with them and help them along. But just be nice. It's a game. Have fun. Alright, now when you're starting out, and I have got to use my powers here and move myself across the screen. Why? Because I want to point to this stuff right in here and up in here. So when you're first starting out, you have your Twisted Tree Line, you have your ARAMs, you have your Blood Moon, and you have your Summoner's Rift. Summoner's Rift is actually the most popular one to kind of play through, and a lot of people do that. That's what everybody talks about. That's what my first tutorial was about. So when you're talking about ARAMs, ARAMs is when you have a random champion thrown at you, and you kind of do a straight line with a team of 5 people. You die, you keep recycling, and you cannot go back and heal or buy new items. It's really dynamic. It's really cool about learning new champions, and it's a lot of fun to play. I definitely recommend doing that. Your Twisted Tree line right there is where you have 3-on-3, and you have your Nexus and 2 lanes top and bottom. So that's kind of interesting as well. We're going to talk a little bit more about the Summoner's Rift one, and we're going to do what's called the draft pick here. You can do blind, which just kind of throws you in, and you have to argue about what role you're getting. Draft is kind of nice because when you go into that and you choose to pick it, you're going to say right up front what lanes you want to play in. So we were talking about those lanes before, so let's go ahead, and I'm going to say I'm going to look for jungle, and I'm going to look for mid, because I can, and I'm going to find a match. And I'm going to put myself back where I belong. Haha. Look at my cool powers. Alright, so I was able to get into a game. Now, something to keep in mind, if you do not pick your champion quick enough or ban quick enough, I'm going to go ahead and declare my champ. I am jungle, so I'm going to go ahead and take Xin Zhao, because that's what I like to play as. I'm going to pick my my rune page is up here. My mastery page is down here. We can talk about setting those up in a different video, but I kind of name them based upon what I like to choose. And I need to make sure I get my jungle items, so I need my smite since I'm playing jungle. Now, I get to choose who I want to ban. We're doing 10-player bans now. This is something that's different from previous ones. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and ban Shaco, because I do not like to jungle against Shaco. Go ahead and hit a ban there. Hopefully, Xin Zhao will not be banned. It is possible for their team to ban him, but regardless. So, yeah, while you're going through here, you can pick up your champion, choose who you want, choose who you're going to ban. If you don't ban in time, or you don't pick your champion, it's what's called dodging. If you dodge, you're going to get a penalty and actually have to sit out of play for a while. So make sure you choose your champion, make sure you talk to your teammates, and you also want to try to pick your team comp based upon who your friends are playing and who else is playing out there, because there's these things called counterpicking, and basically counterpicking means you pick your champion based upon who they're picking. If you know what champion shuts down an air champion, or who they're going to have the most trouble against, you go out of your way to try to pick a champion. Or, if they pick a champion, for example, I just said I sometimes have trouble playing against Shaco with Xin Zhao. So if they pick Shaco, maybe I want to go Warwick or Master Yi in jungle instead. Just keep those things in mind. Again, something to learn down the road and something to get better at as you play the game more. But just keep an eye out for that and try to learn who your champion's good or bad against and how to make the best pick based upon their team comp and your team comp. Sometimes you're not going to be able to play the champion you want to play or you prefer to play. They're going to get banned. Somebody else in your team's going to take them. Or again, there's going to be a better pick based upon the circumstances. Alright, starting out into a game, you start out in the shop, you got to pick out which skill you're going to start with. Again, research your champion to know exactly what you want to do. You can also set up these item sets, which are kind of nice. You have your items ready to go. Something you can do is unlock your camera. Space bars to stay hovered over them. Use your mini-map a lot. Look down here all the time to see what's going on. It is very, very, very critical and important for you to make sure you ward. I don't care if you're the support. You need to buy pink wards and place them in good spots that are going to give you visibility on the map. If you know where they are, it's going to make it a lot harder for them to gank and get around you. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and purchase that ward I was telling you about, this control ward. These are critical, and the placement of them is very, very, very important. If you don't place these wards, and again, regardless of the role you are playing, you are doing a disservice to your team. You should be dropping wards as you go through and being aware and having that map awareness. This doesn't just count for jungle. Yes, as a jungler, when looking for good places to place your pink wards, look for high traffic areas that are off to the side and not commonly scanned. But giving yourself good visibility of the river. Right here, this is called a leash. A leash is where they're going to help me get the bottom camp by helping me fight it. See, they realize that I'm in here and he's going to try to steal this. Now look at this. See, these guys are trying to do this thing called invade. Invade is where you try to take the enemy champion's jungle spots here, one of their camps, the red or blue, and try to steal that to slow down the other team's jungler. This does happen a lot. It doesn't happen all the time, so just be aware of invading, and if you see people doing that, to give them the support. Also, you should have your champions, if you're top or mid or something, or bot, you want to get down here into these laning points and kind of keep an eye on the river to make sure the other team doesn't invade. So you want to keep that in mind too. Again, there's a lot to learn with this game, but you will learn it with time and practice. Pings are super critical. I'm going to go in here in the bot here, and I want to let them know I'm coming. So I'm going to give a little ping signal saying I'm on my way. Holding the G button and right-clicking on the wheel to choose where you're going in and why will actually help a lot. See, right here, they were able to come in and support me because I pinged what I was doing. Ooh, get out. Oh, they almost were able to finish them off, but again, that was good teamwork, letting them know what's going on so that they can react appropriately. For example, I can G and left-click this and say about defending the tower. There is all sorts of roles, and B is how you back. There's all sorts of different types of pings that you can do by holding down your G button. Yep, see, I'm pinging, I'm on my way. Holding G and then left-clicking and pushing in a direction, saying, assist me, where are they? Enemies are missing. Enemies are missing is very, 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 very important. Now I'm going to signal to be careful. Again, use those signals, man. Let your team know what's going on and what you are planning to do. It is very critical. Enemies missing is one of the most critical ones. People need to know if an enemy is out of your lane, especially in the early game. Sitting back and letting them run amok is not going to help anyone, especially if they're going to float from lane to lane, which is a tactic that a lot of people use, especially if they're starting to win their lane. They will push out to the other lanes to try to help them, to take them, and they will try to steamroll a lane to keep them from getting up any higher. Oh, that's not good. Oh, look at that. That's a good use of flash there. Another very important thing to do is to hold down that tab key, because whenever you hold down that tab key, it's going to give you a lot of critical information about what you need to do next, such as the level of the enemy champions. I'm sorry, this is my side. These are the enemies over here. And you can see how much creep score they have. You can see what spells they have and if they're recharging or not, if you're close enough, if they're dead, which also shows down here in the bottom right, and what items they're building. What items they are building should dictate to you what items you build next. Now, if you're not that good, like I said, go ahead and depend on that item optimizer, champion.gg or op.gg, and use those to your advantage by trying to just understand your champion more than counter building. Counter building is a little bit more advanced. Another important thing to do is to learn your summoner spells. Now, if I go here under collection, under spells, I'll be able to pull them up. You'll be able to read what each one of them do, but there's Clarity, Ghost, Heal, Mark, Teleport, Cleanse, Exhaust, Barrier, Flash, and Ignite, as well as Smite. Now, I say Smite separately from the rest because it's specific basically for junglers. Now, that's not to say that you cannot use it if you have other champions that are not junglers. It's just mainly designed for destroying the jungle champions. You can actually use it on other champion characters, actual players, and it can have different effects based upon the jungle item that you're using. And it does actually open up and allow you to buy jungle items. So without that, you can't buy jungle items. So if you are a jungler, take Smite. It is critical. Certain jungle items will allow you to cast Smite twice. It does a shit ton of damage to the actual jungle creatures, such as the buff creatures, Dragon, Baron, but using it against another actual enemy champion, you can actually smite them, and some of them will slow them down or lower their armor. There's all sorts of different effects that it can do. Ignite sets them on fire and damages them slowly over time. Flash allows you to zip to another location. Right there you see this example here when I click on this. Flashing through a wall is huge. If you flash through a wall and an enemy is chasing you, well, they can't get to you unless they flash too, or unless they have some sort of a skill that allows them to teleport. And there are champions that can do that. So that's just a very good escape mechanism. It's also a good way to jump in and take something. Like if they're getting Baron, a lot of people will flash through and hit last hit, and they get it. Doesn't matter if the enemy team was beating up Baron or Dragon. If you get the last hit, you get it. And junglers will go through, they will flash through and smite Dragon or Baron and steal it from the enemy team. Teleport allows you to teleport to another location. You can go to wards, minions, or structures. Now, if you're doing it on a minion, it does make them invulnerable while you're teleporting to that minion. If you do it to a building and it disappears, I believe you lose teleport, and it does have a long cooldown, but it allows you to jump across the map without warning, or into a bush if you ward a bush. Cleanse, of course, here it removes all like enfeebling stuff, so it's nice to keep you from being locked down. So it's kind of a cool ability there. Exhaust actually slows them down and makes them more vulnerable to you. So Exhaust is a really good one to take when you're trying to chase down or hunt down champs. I personally like that with Xin Zhao, since he gets in, but he doesn't escape very well. So you go in there, and if you have to, you can flash Auspicious Charge, which is like this double jump in, and then you can exhaust them so they can't get away and just destroy them. Barrier is brief, but it really does a lot of damage reduction for a few seconds, which is pretty cool. Mark I've never really used, but apparently if you mark them, it gives like true sight, so like you can see where they are, regardless, if I understand correctly. Heal is a very popular one. It pops heal, and it does a little bit of health regeneration to you and all your allies around you. Ghost allows you to run through enemy champions and run faster. It's really good for pursuit, as well as escape. If you zigzag through your own minions as they're coming through, they can't really follow you through unless you're using Ghost, so you can ghost through theirs as well to chase them down. So that's kind of cool. Clarity, I believe it actually gives you back some mana as well. Yeah, it like restores your mana and gives you some more. So if you have a high mana champion, some spells are used more than others. You can just kind of research that online, but know your spells, know what you're using, and know the right time to use them, because they do have a long-term cooldown on all of those. Ooh, look at that. Flash. Did you see that? Flash from bush to bush. That was smart and actually kept me from getting the gank in there. One of the more difficult things I know for a lot of new players is knowing when they need to go in and when they should not go in. So just keep an eye on your teammates. Be aware of your champion. What are his strengths? Are they a distant fighter? Are they a close range fighter? Use that map awareness. Do they have other friends that are coming in? Are they going to join in and jump in on the fight? Is there some place that you can help, or are you just throwing your champion away? If you work with your teammates, it can be very effective as long as you use all your skills and abilities together. Now, getting this type of team comp and team cooperation is very difficult to obtain. Even if you see a champion out by themselves and you think you can solo and 1v1 them, just be aware. Like in this situation, Evelyn thought she had me and she utilized the bush to make it to where I couldn't hit her. I was able to have enough lifesteal, though, to successfully live and then use this bush to kind of escape. When you're inside of bushes, you're actually invisible unless they have it warded. So that's actually a good tactic to use and kind of hide from the enemy and, use it against them to where like, oh, well, where are they at? People check bushes and scan them a lot. Now in this encounter, we were both on the tower. We're able to take the turret hit, so I usually don't recommend tower diving. Now we're backing off to kind of regroup a little bit where the enemy team are trying to come in. Now I do go in for a tower dive here because I see my comrades here are in trouble. Now with the lifesteal I've got going on with Xin Zhao right now and using my ult to kind of push them away from turrets so I could fight them outside, I was able to successfully pull off a triple with the help of Misfortune. So again, just work with your teammates and be aware of your champion. Right, well, that's it for right now. That's the end of part 2 of the Beginner's Guide to League of Legends. Thumb up, like, subscribe, comment below. Tell me your thoughts on League of Legends, and tell me if you found these helpful. Get the name out there. Share it with some of your friends. You want to get them in the League of Legends? Tell them to check out these 2 videos and try to get a basic idea so they don't noob you to death and bring you down when you try to kick ass. So just remember, play, have fun. Video games are for having fun, and they should be enjoyable. So learn what you can, grow with the game, and have fun playing that game, League of Legends.